Hi, I'm Dr. Lindsay Coble.
Dr. Noelle Crosby, and we're the Sound Sisters, and this is the Hearing Diaries. And today we have our special guest, Jenna Vallario. And did I pronounce that right, Jenna? Jenna is an advocate
You
for
got it.
students, good, for students in audiology whose journey blends global service with student leadership. Jenna's experiences helped shape her passion for empowering the next generation, and we're excited to share her story. So, Jenna, first, I want to know what got you in. Well, welcome, Jenna, first. We're wonderful to have you here with us. And I
Thank
want to
you.
know a little bit about what your path was into audiology.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't grow up knowing what audiology was. I think
I don't
that's
think any of us did,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
pretty common.
Few of
Um,
us did. Few of us did.
but when I was in high school, my mom was diagnosed with a profound high frequency mixed loss,
Oh.
which wasn't sudden. She had had, she thinks probably since her 20s. So, as you can imagine, she struggled quite a bit. And, I'm one of five girls. We have a very lively dinner
Oh,
table,
gosh.
just you can imagine by the time she's 40 or 50s with a profound loss, she's really disconnected from the dinner table. So she was diagnosed and treated when I was in high school. And I knew I wanted to go into the medical field, wasn't sure what path to take. And she's like, I really think you should check out this field. This has changed my life.
Mhm.
And so, that was kind of my introduction to audiology.
I love
Hmm.
that.
That's a great
When
reason for it.
and then when did service become so important to you?
I think I don't remember like a single moment, but I kind of realized, access to healthcare, specifically hearing care, isn't equal in the US and around the world. And I just saw how much privilege is
Mhm.
built into education, healthcare, just opportunities in general. And I think once you see that, it's hard not to see it.
Mhm.
Uh, and so I don't know if there was a single moment, but definitely just a realization that there's something I can do about this, and I can't unsee it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, first, let me just give a little summary of your experiences, which I didn't do initially. So, Jenna graduated from USF, and then we're going to learn
Mhm.
about how you got involved in going and serving and working in Malawi. But so she worked in Malawi for a few years, came back to the United States, and is now part of the Hearing the Call student initiative. So
Mhm.
she's very focused on the next generation of audiologists. So let's talk about how did you even get involved with considering to go to Malawi or learning about it or what happened with that?
Yeah, I was the student that was looking for outreach, volunteer opportunities. I was burned out. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to incorporate it into my career. I didn't know how. I was in my third year and just like, what am I going to do? I was in Miami, Florida, looking for an apartment for my fourth year. And there happened to be this conference while I was there that weekend. It was the Coalition for Global Hearing Healthcare.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so I attended. At that conference, I connected with Hearing the Call and Entheos, and also ABC Hearing Clinic and Training Center in Malawi. I met Nimit Adam, who's
Yeah.
the development director for Hearing the Call. And she was like, hey, we're going to Mozambique in a few weeks. Would you like to come? And it was everything, I was looking for. And I was on a plane to Mozambique a few weeks later. And,
Very
so
adventurous.
so life-changing and impactful. I made the decision to move to Malawi after graduation
Mhm.
and volunteer at ABC Hearing Clinic and Training Center. So a little bit of backstory on ABC and to really help understand kind of the landscape of Malawi. It's, I think, fourth or fifth poorest country
I've
in the
heard
world.
that.
Undeveloped infrastructure and just about everything. including healthcare. And until recently, the field of audiology was even recognized really by
Mm.
government, and there were, were no hearing services. So in 2010, audiologists from Australia, Rebecca and Peter Bartlett, moved to Malawi for reasons unrelated to audiology, quickly realized there was no hearing services, and built the first hearing clinic in the
Mm.
entire country of 18 million people in
Oh my gosh.
2013
Wow.
and started the first and only Bachelor's of Science in Audiology degree training program in the region, besides South Africa and Egypt. And I believe there's another country, maybe Kenya, that is developing a bachelor's level as well. There's tech level programs in the area, but not bachelor's or higher. So yeah, my primary role was teaching in the training program. In 2021, we had our first group of graduates, the first group of audiologists in the entire country, and we have a cohort every 2 years that graduates from the program.
Was
Now,
there
did
a
I hear you
language
say
barrier?
volunteer?
Oh
Did I hear you
yeah.
say this was a volunteer position?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Was there a
That is
language barrier?
dedication.
Did you have to learn the language or how did you teach?
Yeah, it was in English, so it's
Mhm.
a nonprofit in the States, the college and the entire campus clinic
Mm.
as well. And so the students do speak English, and in the
Mm.
capital, a lot of the people speak English. I hired a tutor.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was really important to learn the language.
And what
It's
is
a
the language,
very
Jenna? What's it
difficult
called?
language,
Oh.
Is it called Malawi? What's the language called?
Chichewa.
Okay, I can't even say that.
Yeah, yeah. But I spoke in English, and there, of course, is, a little bit of a language barrier, but we got by.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. What is a typical student going through that program? Is it 18-year-olds like after high school or how old are they? Yeah, 18.
Yeah, it's similar to the UK. So in the UK, audiologists, and I think Australia as well. I'm not sure on
Mm.
Australia, but it's a bachelor's level to do basic adult hearing care.
Mm.
And then if you want to do cochlear implants or electrophysiology or peds, you go for additional trainings on top of that.
Mm.
And does ABC offer that additional training there?
So it's all included in the bachelor's level.
Okay.
We do recommend, if it's a graduate wants to do cochlear implants, or Med-El offers a training, and so we
Mm.
do recommend they go for additional training.
Mm.
Wow, that is just eye-opening to me. And how long were you there for?
So they're 5 years. So I moved
Mhm.
back in 2024.
Okay.
Wow. How would you
5 years.
say how would you
Yeah.
say that whole experience shifted the way that you think about students, access, impact, foreign relations even? How did that just change your whole outlook on how audiologists can contribute, really?
Yeah, I think, it made me just deeply student-centered.
Mm.
When students are challenged, when they're supported, when they're given opportunities, they rise
Hmm.
beyond expectations. It changed the way I look at US students as well, providing opportunities to them in environments where, they might not have gotten it otherwise, can change the trajectory of someone's life in good ways. I think information is power, and my goal is to get that information, into students' hands.
Oh, yeah, that's just so interesting. Well, let's move on to you finally decided to leave Malawi, come back to the United States. Did you already know when you came back that you were going to be working for Hearing the Call, or did you just come back and then we found a position for you because you were so wonderful and we needed to keep you through Hearing the Call? Talk to me about
Uh,
that a little bit.
yeah, my history with hearing the call is interesting because I was a student, on the trip. And then I was also on the receiving end of, hearing the call and Entheos generosity of, while I was there. There was student support. There was, support for me because I was unpaid. There was donations, equipment, hearing the call really supported our program, and also now does yearly trips to support the students and a
Yeah.
sustainable hearing care. So when I moved back in 2024, I had met with Nora Stewart about working for Entheos and hearing the call, and she has said that they were starting or building this, kind of student and university program, getting students more involved and hearing the call and building university partnerships and relationships. And I jumped at it because I was that student that wanted these opportunities. And at no fault to my university, I've been in academia. I know you only have so much bandwidth and time and resources, that we were creating this program that would partner with universities and come alongside them and help provide these opportunities to students and create a community of um, that are givers. I think the university community is very similar to the Entheos and Hearing the Call community. We're givers. People in academia are givers. And so I really felt like our community is aligned.
Jenna, what is hearing the call for people who aren't familiar? How would you explain it to somebody?
Yeah, Hearing the Call is a nonprofit that partners with communities around the world and in the US to expand access to hearing healthcare through services, education, training, and sustainable clinic development. What's really interesting about Hearing the Call is that it's powered by Entheos Audiology Cooperative, which is a co-op of private practice owners and university partners within the US. So they're two separate entities. I kind of describe it as Hearing the Call being our nonprofit arm,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
they work synergistically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I'm a part of both. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a wonderful experience being part of going on some of the trips. And Malawi's on my list. It just hasn't, the dates just haven't worked out for me yet. But let's talk about, why you think that having students involved and going on these trips and providing hearing care in different countries or globally or really locally, I guess. But I just wanted to add this. I know it's a lot easier for them to be able to do everything when they're practicing not in the United States because they can do everything. They can do wax removal, they can do procedures that they might not be able to do in the United States as students. So talk to me about why you think that is so important for the students.
Yeah, I think when students have the opportunity to see themselves as change makers
Mm-hmm.
early, and they feel empowered to make a difference, I think it can shape them as a clinician and as humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think service rewires you and could rewire how you practice. And so I think, having students involved in this is really important, not only for the trajectory of their life, if they're interested in incorporating this into their career, but also just how they are as a clinician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do. I'll just want to say too that I know as a student, I would have loved to have opportunities like this. There
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't anything available, or even
Right.
as an early professional, or up until I found here in the call, actually, and in Theos, I would have loved to participate with trips and helping and experiencing global hearing care, but there just wasn't anything available for easy access to that. So I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
think it's so great that we're providing that early on to students where they know about it and they can get
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in students in doing this kind of work. I think you go into audiology because you want to help.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of a piece of you. And, students would love to go on these trips. We know cost is a barrier for a lot of students. And, we do offer Hearing the Call, and Entheos does offer, sponsorships and scholarships for students. But we also have a trip specific for students. We go to Guatemala. We call it our student initiative trip. I actually just went with Hearing the Call to Guatemala in November for the first time, and it was such a
Fun.
cool experience. It was, I describe it as almost immersive. You stay at the hospital, you eat in the hospital cafeteria. It's an interdisciplinary team, ENT surgeons, ophthalmologists who
How
come from
awesome is
all
that? Yeah.
over. Yeah, come all over the US, and they come for a week and they stay at this hospital. You stay in like dorm style rooms with no air conditioning. And it's just such a cool experience. We usually have six, but the hospital's, under construction. We had four students, and you could just see how deeply impactful it was for them, and some of them being, on the verge of burning out, which I had
Mm-hmm.
been there, and just feeling like it's just, revitalized them and just it changed them. And one of our university partners at Ohio State says, her students come back different after these
Mm.
trips. Um,
Dr. Gail
Mm.
Whitelaw.
correct. Yeah. Yeah. So
Is
I
amazing in
He's
her own right.
amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. And so I recommend it for every student, even if, you're not sure if you can afford it. We have options. We try to make it work for you the best we can. And it's just such a great experience.
Yes. And
How
so who are the other universities? I know it's Dr. Lindsay Jorgensen with University of North Dakota, South Dakota,
South Dakota.
South Dakota, and also Pacific Coast. Are they Pacific?
It's University of Massachusetts Amherst,
Mm.
Okay.
with Jennifer Phelan. They just joined
I
Entheos.
just joined, yeah.
Yeah, so we currently have three university partners,
Okay.
and growing the program.
Hmm. So neat. So if a student is interested in something like this, do they have to be a part of one of those universities who are part of Entheos? Not
Nope,
necessarily.
nope,
And
nope.
so
If
if
they
someone's interested, how do they reach out or what do they do? Where do they look?
Yeah, it's if they go on hearingthecall.org,
Hmm.
our website, there's a student page. They fill out the student interest form. That actually comes to me, and then I schedule a time to meet with them. And we talk about global projects, but we also talk about local projects. Not everyone can travel internationally or wants to travel
Mhm.
internationally, but wants to get involved. And we have a lot of local Hearing the Call projects as well,
Yeah.
where, for example, a clinic will have a local Hearing the Call project, and once a year or quarterly or as needed, patients who qualify financially will receive hearing care.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to what is one thing you wish every audiology student understood about leadership and service so they maybe don't get burned out,
Mhm.
right?
yeah, good question. I think one thing, I learned, especially in the global outreach world, is you don't and potentially shouldn't have a title to lead. We're in someone else's home, we're in someone else's country. I am not the expert in their home. They know their communities, they know their infrastructure, they know how it works. And so I, want to, if a student, is interested in doing this kind of work, just, you don't need a title. Leadership is how you show up. It's
I
about
love that.
supporting your peers and lifting people up, and serving in whatever way is needed or matters. And you're not the expert there. You might be here in the US, but every country is very, very different. And that, if you want to serve and you want to lead, show up. It's the best way you can do it.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
I want to say too, from being on trips with just other audiologists, you also learn how to work side by side with audiologists, especially if you're in a practice where you're just working by yourself and you don't
Mhm.
have that interaction, and you just learn so much. So I can imagine as a professional, I learn a lot. So I can't even imagine how much students can learn.
Mhm.
Oh, on outreach, and I say this about my Malawi students as well, not just US students, but when you go on an outreach, right, you're outside of your, little private practice world. And outreach, especially if you're in a rural area where there's no access to services, you see conditions you would just never see.
Yeah.
Either they've been managed by ENT or they don't really exist.
Mhm.
I mean, I would tell students, if you look into an ear and you don't know what you're looking at, look for a rim, like a basketball rim, because what you're actually looking into is in the middle ear. And that's common, right? Like if I look into an ear, I'm like, okay, this is probably the middle ear space I'm looking at. Let me look for a rim. Yep, there it is.
Mhm.
That's the middle. And that's normal. And oftentimes they don't even know if you ask, have you ever had drainage? Or do you have a hole in your ear? They'll say no, and you'll look in, there's no eardrum.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
or, they've had chronically draining ears for 30 years, and that's just the norm.
Mhm.
And so, students that go on outreaches where it's 3 days, you look in 150 ears in one day, and you're not just looking and seeing high frequency sensory neural hearing loss. You are seeing and diagnosing conditions that you don't, typically see in a private practice setting or a setting where it's a higher socioeconomic, population. You come back so much more advanced and
Mhm.
independent, and you just learn. I mean, it's such a learning curve when I moved there because it's very ENT focused.
Mhm.
And I had to, change, you know and relearn how to do things with limited resources. No water, no power. Equipment is
Yeah.
broken. You don't have the
Oh my
equipment,
gosh.
you can't afford it. And so you come back just you're a better clinician, but also, you
Um,
troubleshoot better. You're
Mhm.
more adaptable. You have, better teamwork, teamwork skills. So I just think it's such a great experience clinically, but also, personally as well.
yeah.
I love that. I feel like probably just such a confidence boost. Like you said, I mean, I feel like your first year being an audiologist, you look in more ears than you did as a student. And so I feel like when you're on a trip like that, like you said, if you look in hundreds of ears in a day, it's like you
Mm-hmm.
just get more confident at what you're doing, especially in that environment where you're expected to be the expert or you're expected to
Hmm.
guide and be the medical professional there. So, yeah, such a great experience for students, I'm sure. Really neat that you guys are doing that. Should we shift to
Oh,
rapid fire?
yeah, let's do that.
I like it. Okay, Jenna, what's one word that describes you and why?
Um, I'd probably say passionate. Like
Love it.
if
Oh, that is like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
seems
perfect,
right up your
perfect
alley.
for you.
Hmm.
when I get behind something, I'm behind it 100%. Uh, so yeah, I'd probably say passionate.
Yeah, here in the
Good.
call needs a
Yeah,
passionate
you're in the
people.
right place.
Yeah. If you could master any new skill overnight, what would it be and why?
Language.
Oh, language.
Language.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good one.
Where do you see hearing healthcare 10 years from now?
I would love to see it more collaborative. Sometimes I feel like, we're all doing this and we're all, doing it separately. And I think if our field came together and really, helped push it forward, we could get a
Yeah.
lot farther.
Mhm.
So common that people
Yeah,
say
a
that.
common
I don't know
answer
if,
that we get on this
yeah.
show.
Oh,
Great.
I don't know if you drink coffee or what is just something, if it's coffee or other something else that you order that gets you through a busy day.
a strong black cup of hot
There we
coffee.
go.
Ah,
Yeah. I'm a black coffee girl too.
basics.
Yeah, strong.
If let's do a sound. What sound makes you happy?
3-year-olds giggle. My 3-year-old.
Ooh, I have a
Oh,
3-year-old too.
Boy
So
or girl?
a girl.
Ooh,
What do you have?
boy.
A boy. Oh.
Think of it.
Yeah. So
They
sweet and
should get
kind.
together one
I
day, right? You
know.
know, the guys live kind
God,
of close
we're right
together.
down the road from each other. We had no idea. How fun.
Yep. If money wasn't a concern, what would you be doing?
Oh, I'd be building sustainable hearing clinics led
Not
by
surprised with that
my,
passion.
Yeah.
yeah, the graduates of my program.
Oh,
Neat. So
Yeah.
neat. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Um, what's one thing our profession could do better? Let's say for students. What's one thing our profession could do better for students?
Probably just creating space for diverse
Hmm.
paths. I
Hmm.
sometimes feel like these are your options.
Hmm.
Um, and just creating space for what might be something unique or
Yeah.
different and being
yeah, I
open.
love that.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I feel like I agree with that. I feel like just so often, even even back when I was in school, I feel like people just felt like, oh, I either go peds or I do adult hearing aids. It seemed like such a silo.
yeah,
And, now being in practice for 7 years or whatever, I recognize you could do APD and start a clinic doing APD, but you hardly learn about it in school. So you have to
Right,
kind of pave your own path. And so I
right,
love that. I love that idea to help students. We
yeah.
need
Know
more
that it's not just
audiologists. Yeah,
that.
we
Yeah,
need audiologists, so
there's
we don't want them
different.
to be burned out or feel siloed by high pressure hearing aid sales when there's so many other avenues. So I love that.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. And finally, we're all about the B's here. So, which B fits you best? Be kind, be brave, be curious, be bold, or be happy?
Depends on the day. Today I'm probably feeling bold.
Ah, I
Love
love
that.
it.
Love that.
Oh, Jenna, I'm so glad I finally got a chance to talk to you. And today you showed us how a single experience can spark a lasting change.
Mhm.
By channeling global service into student leadership, you're helping build confident, passionate audiologists who are ready to lead. How
Mhm.
wonderful is that, right? Thank you for answering the call and for helping the next generation to do the same. So thank you so much for being here today. We love
Thanks for
talking
having
to you.
me.
Thanks, Jenna. So
Thank
nice to
you.
meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
And we'll see you all next time on the Sound Sisters.